Hey guys, welcome back to this Python basic tutorial. In this tutorial we will be looking at Python integer, float, and also how once you create a Python variable, how can you identify what type of variable it is or the data type it is, and we'll also be looking at Python as a calculator. So Python integer data type is the numbers basically. Let's say A's without the decimal point. So A's is 12, and let's say weight is 5.3. So now we've already created this variable called A's and weight. So how do we find out what sort of data type are these variables? So what you can do is Python has a built-in function called type, and once you pass in the variable you've created, which is technically an object in Python, you can pass that and it will give you the type of it. So let's say pass type of weight we want to know. So that's class float. So float basically means you can store numbers with the decimal value behind them. So, and let's do a type of age. You can see that's a type of integer, and that's deriving from class of integer, which you will learn later on when you start to learn object-oriented side of programming. So for now, just understand that type gives you the type function gives you what type of data type you're working with, or what is its origin, like what sort of behavior it has, and you can access basically. So now what you can do in Python is you can use the Python shell as a calculator as well. For example, you can have the cost equals to apple cost equals to 50 cents and apple quantity equals to 10. Then you can do apple cost multiplied by apple quantity. As you can see, the multiplication sign is the asterisk. So once you do that, you get your result 5. So we've got the result in float. Now what if we want the result in integer? We don't want the float value. In that case, you can do this calculation and pass that into the parser, which is int built-in function. You can basically do apple cost multiplied by apple quantity, and that'll return you the integer without the decimal, the values behind the decimals. So that's basically how you can use Python. And normally even at work when I need a calculator, I like to use idle, because once I do all my calculation, I can always sort of go back and check what I did, and then it's much easier to, like, if I made a mistake, I can just hit Alt P again, bring up and fix my mistake and redo the calculation. Let's go back to our type inbuilt function again, and let's explore that with few other variables as well. So let's create a name variable called John Smith and age variable called 13. So if we do type age, that's going to give us integer. So age is an object in Python. That object, it's an instance of a class integer, so it derives from, when Python creates an age variable, it uses the class integer to create that variable. So age now references to number 13 in the memory. So now do type to name, and that is the type of string, so which means it derives from the string class. So now Python has quite a few inbuilt functions. One of the useful one is help as well, so you can do help age, then that'll give you the detail of the integer object and how this class is set up and what is its helper methods and attributes and whatnot. And it also has the text to explain what each method does for you. So, but now do help name. You can see no Python documentation found for John Smith. That's because when we say help name, because name is referencing to this text in the memory John Smith, so when you do help name, Python takes this as, I want to know about John Smith, help me. So obviously Python has no clue who John Smith is, therefore it will return saying there's no documentation on that. But if we do help type name, that might give us the help on the string. So here's the result of that. So as you can see, it's deriving from a string class, and you can see the helper method on the string class and more detailed methods it has. So for example, isDigit. So isDigit returns a boolean return type if all characters in string are digits and there is at least one character in string, false otherwise. So if we pass an empty string, then this will give us false, but if we pass in a string that has only numbers, then this will give us true. So let's try that quickly just for the fun. So name age equals to that. Oops, my bad. I forgot to put a quote around this. And we do age.isDigit. It's false because it's not a digit. It's got letters on it. So now let's try age equals 12, and we do age.isDigit. I made a mistake. So age, we want to make it a string. So, oops, my bad. And now if we do age.isDigit, true. So as you can see, when I did age equals 12 and did age.isDigit, now it's saying integer object has no attribute isDigits. Now this error should sort of make sense to you because as I said, the age now, let's check what is it. Type of age is class integer. And where is this isDigit function available on? That's only on string class, right? That's what we saw before. So isDigit, so it's on a string class. If we go up here, so we were looking at the help of a string object, but let's go and pull up the help of a integer object again and see if there's any isDigit here. There's none because integer is a digit, so it won't make sense to use that. So you can see how it, like, understanding all these features also helps you to understand the structure and also the error message as well. And it says attribute error. That's because what Python did is it went to age object and it tried to access the isDigit, which is a method, or it can have an attribute. So attribute is basically if age had a variable in it. this is a function which does something. I'll talk more about that later. So that therefore it's saying nothing called isDigit was found inside this age object, and it therefore it tells you attribute error and object has no attribute isDigit. So let's leave this lesson at that, and I hope that helped you in some ways. So if you're having confusion and trying to access some built-in methods or attributes and you can't find them, then you can always do type age, and now you know, okay, I'm dealing with integer here, integer won't have that, or I need to write a function so I can do that. So that might be a little bit more advanced, guys, but don't worry if you didn't understand it all. It will make sense on the later videos. Thank you for watching.